Hey guys, Cobb here. Welcome back to our Breath of the Wild tutorial series. Today we are going to be setting up for creating runes, and then the next few tutorials are going to be specifically on runes, as in the next one will be Magnesis, and after that Stasis, Cryonis, and then Bombs. Probably in that order. I didn't really think about it at that time. Next one will be Magnesis though. Alright, so what we want to do first is give you the ability to set which rune you're selected on. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into mechanics, and we're going to add a new folder called runes. Open that up, another new folder, and we're just going to call this icons. Now I've added all the icons you guys are going to need to the resources button on my website. The link will be in the description. You can go get it right there. So once you get those, you can press import. I really need to organize this. Rune icons. Okay, and you'll get all these. There's going to be 3 of each. One is the hover. You can't really see it because it's got a white background, but it has, like, you know, a board around it, the selected, and just the regular. So you want to import all of those. And then we have to right click with them all selected, asset actions, and bulk edit via property matrix. Then we want to go to level of detail, set the texture group to UI, and go to compression and set compression settings to user interface 2D. Alright, cool. And then Command S to save and close that. And now they're all set and ready. Alright, next thing we gotta do is we have to make a enumeration. So go to, just right click, go to blueprints, enumeration, and we're gonna call this runes enum. And I'm gonna create 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna call it remote bomb sphere. Remote bomb cube, magnesis, stasis, and cryonis. You can write descriptions if you want. I don't really need them because we already know what they are. Okay, and next we need a structure. So go to blueprints structure, and we're going to call this runes properties, or rune properties. Okay, open that up. We're gonna need 3 of these. It's gonna be the name. Oh, wow, I can't type. Name, that's gonna be of type text. Icon, that's gonna be of type texture 2D object reference. And then the last one will be we just put type, and that'll be the enumeration we just made. So what do we call it? Enum? Rune enum? Yeah, runes enum. And save. Alright, go ahead and close that. And we're going to go back into UI, and we have to make the little pop-up for choosing a, you know, which rune you have. So right click, we're going to user interface, widget blueprint. This will be called rune selection. Open that up. Okay, and unlike most of the widgets we make, we're actually going to leave the canvas panel on because this isn't going to be part of our main HUD. This is going to pop up when we hold down the button to select our rune. So just leave that on. We're going to make a horizontal box. We're going to put that right in the center. So let's do the size like 1250, I believe, by 250. It's going to be where our 5 runes are. Anchor it right to the middle, and to get it right in the middle, I know you can mess with the alignment and stuff, but I usually just put half of the sizes, and that puts it right in the middle. So it's negative, that's 625 by negative 125. There you go, it's right in the middle. Okay, and inside that, we're going to need 5 checkboxes. So checkbox 1, gonna just set it to fill. Okay, and So yeah, set that to fill, and then we're going to need 4 more. Actually, before we duplicate, let's set some properties. So let's just call this I'm gonna RBS for remote bomb sphere checkbox. Okay. Stays unchecked. Yeah. And the style, it's gonna be checkbox and unchecked image. So we're gonna have to change all these images to what we need. It's a little more complex than buttons, but we couldn't use buttons because we want to have them stay toggled once you click them. And we're also going to make it so all the others are deselected once you click it, so you can only have one rune selected at a time. So unchecked image, oops, is going to be, so we're going to start with remote bomb and sphere, and we're going to choose just the sphere icon, and that's the basic one. Image size 250 by 250. And if you made your horizontal box a different size, I made it so it can fit 5 250 by 250 images in there. So if you want your horizontal box here to be a different size, you can also have to take into account what size to set your images for checkboxes. Yeah, so, and that's all we need to do, and then we can we can actually copy and paste and then change this to remote bomb sphere hover, and that has those little, these little boxes around it so you can see that you're hovering. Oh, alright, so it is a bit of a tedious work, so I'm going to show you this first one and then we're going to speed through the next one. So for pressed, if you're pressing on it, we want it to be remote bomb sphere selected. Actually, sorry, we're gonna make this remote bomb sphere hover 250 by 250, and then the tint we're gonna leave it because they automatically make it a bit darker. Checked image, this is going to be the remote bomb sphere selected. There we go. Checked hovered, this is gonna be the same thing. We don't have anything for I'm sorry, hovered when it's selected, but that's fine. Oh, that's the cube. Remote bomb sphere selected, hovered, and then remote bomb sphere for pressed. And we want, oh, did I? Yeah, you gotta remember to change all of these to 250 by 250, or it's gonna, or whichever you're gonna go by, or it can kind of mess it up. Actually, we can just copy this. So I'm actually gonna make the pressed one the one tinted, and the hovered no tint, so it just stays normal. And then I can just paste it there, and there we go. Yeah, and it's all the right size. You can see the pressed image is a little more tinted. Undetermined, we can leave that. It doesn't matter. Okay, anything else? No, that's it. So I'm just going to quickly rename this to Rune selection box. Okay. I'm just going to duplicate this and then speed through the other ones. Okay, and we're back. So I actually ended up deciding I'm just going to cut that out because it took way too long to even be interesting all sped up. So I'm just going to quick run through what I did. So I just duplicated this a bunch of times, and on every single one we have the unchecked image, the unchecked image, and then the hovered and unchecked pressed are the same with this one with a tint, and then the checked image. The checked hovered image is the same, and then the checked press image is slightly tinted darker than the other two, and it's like that for all of them. And you have all the icons. I've added it all in the resources tab on my website, and the link's right in the description, so go download those unless you want to use your own. So great. So next let's add some text right there. Go ahead and anchor it about there, and then we're just gonna call this Rune name. Oops. and since this is going to change, we're going to make it a variable. And we can just, I don't know, so for, we'll just have it say magnesis for default, because that's the one we're going to be working with first. Font, I don't know, bold italic, 42. Could be a bit bigger. Okay, cool, something like that, and size to context. Actually, don't size to context, we're going to just make it big enough for any word to fit in there, to make sure it stays in the center. So, like we did last time, position X is just negative 400, so it's exactly half. Position Y is whatever, we can just put it where you want. We would go 300, looks good. And down here, we want the justification to be centered. You know, we'll go ahead and make this like 80. Yeah, so we can get it more closer like that. So 320. Cool, and I think that's everything we need for that. Go ahead and compile and save. Alright, before anything else, let's go to our third-person character. We need to make a new variable called, called runes enum reference, or just ref, and that'll be of type, runes enum. Compile and save. We're going to go ahead and make a new category to keep it organized, just called runes. Okay. And we made this so whatever is selected here, that is the rune that will be activated once we actually decide to use our rune. So we're doing magnesis yet, so I'm sorry. Magnesis will only work if we've selected magnesis. So compile and save. Okay. Before we do anything else, let's just add a little background blur for when this is pulled up. Where'd it go? Okay, didn't. Okay. Anchor it to the full. Make all the offsets 0. Okay. And blur strength, let's say 1. But we want these to not be blurred out, so we can just go ahead and put the Z order to 1. Z order also to 1. That just means it's layered on top of the background blur. Okay, so we need to go to all 5 of these, scroll all the way down, and we need to create an on-check state changed event for each one. We can, I think, delete all 3. Can't remember, but always bring them back if we need them. So let's just go and do that for each one. Okay, now that we have all 5, we need to make a variable called selected rune. Selected rune. This will be the rune that is selected. This will be of type checkbox. Object type checkbox. And before we deal with these, we're going to make a quick macro. It's going to make things a little easier. We're going to call this match rune to struct. Oh, I'm sorry, I just realized I made a mistake. The variable in the third-person character is not referencing the enum, it has to be referencing actually the struct that we made. So if we go back, just as a refresher, mechanics, runes, we made a structure and an enum, enumeration, and we need to reference the structure. So go ahead and change this variable type to, we called it properties. What do we call it? Yeah, rune properties. Where is it? I might have missed it. Rune properties. There it is. Compile, save. And now we have the rune properties. And that includes the enum right here. So we would go back to rune selection, and we're going to match this selected rune to this structure. So bring out the output. We need to create an execute node for both of them. Execute and call it execute to just make the title disappear. And this one has to be called then to make it disappear. Alright, it was relatively easy. We just have to cast to the third-person character, the object is get player character, okay? And as third-person character, we need to reference our, oh, we didn't rename this, runes struct ref, there we go. We just need to reference our runes struct ref, right? And let's break this, or split the struct pin, I'm sorry. And now we have all three of these properties. And we only need, and we split it because we only need this, but we're going to need the other two in other ones we use. That's why we changed it to a struct instead of just keeping it at enum. So take this and I'm going to do switch on runes enum. Connect that. So when the third person character rune switches, we want it also to switch on here. It's kind of like working backwards. I know it's slightly confusing, but you'll see. So we'll just have to selected rune. We'll have to set the selected rune, the variable we made right here. We're going to have to do that 5 times for each one. We're making this macro so we don't have to do this step every single time. So it's really useful. You only have to do this once. So get one for each. And the selected rune just match up with this. So the remote bomb sphere is the remote bomb sphere checkbox. The remote bomb cube is the RBC remote bomb cube. Magnesis, Cryonis. Oh, Cryonis is this one, and then Stasis is right here. Okay, and put this all into the output. And there we go. Compile and save. So back to the event graph. We need to create a variable for each one of these to set their info. It's gonna make it a little easier. So I'm just gonna call this RBS remote bomb sphere info, and it's gonna be of type runes, rune properties. Okay. Compile and save, and then the info. So it's gonna be called remote bomb sphere. Right. Oops. Okay. The icon is the remote bomb sphere icon, and type remote bomb sphere. Now copy or duplicate all of these and make it for each one. Alright, so we just went ahead and changed all the properties to all these. And the reason we're doing all this is just because we always want it to be matched up. We never want it to be, thinking maybe there's two at a time, or, this HUD thinks it's one while your character thinks it's another. So this is all really useful stuff to do. So first thing we're going to do is, once again, we're going to cast to third person character. And we can go ahead and right click and convert to pure cast. Get player character. And we're going to set the rune struct ref. So this thing right here, we're going to set it to the correct info. So when you select, the remote bomb sphere, it's going to take this and set the remote bomb sphere information all in here so that it's always matched up. And then we're going to call the match rune to struct so that the struct ref type gets added to the selected rune. Okay, so we can just copy and paste this. Oops. Okay, and then we need to change all the info, so the remote bomb cube has to be the remote bomb cube info. The magnesis has to be the magnesis info. You know, if you stasis, and if you grab a variable and hold it over right there, it just changes it. So it's a little tip. Cryonis info. Okay, and make them all connect to the macro. No need to put that node in 5 times. Sadly, there's a lot of other nodes that do need to be put in 5 times, but it's only 5. Next thing, so now we have it, so whichever rune you select, it sets everything up to be selected for that rune, right? You know, right here it's all set up, it knows it's on, you know, it's magnesis, and then your third person character knows it's on magnesis and sets all the information. But one problem we have is with a checkbox, you know, if we check magnesis and then we're later like, okay, now I want to go to stasis, we check stasis, both of these will be selected. So we have to make it so when you check a box, all the rest become unchecked, or the last one becomes unchecked. But the safest way to do it is for all the rest to become unchecked. So go to the event graph, we're going to have to call a for loop. First index is 0, and the last index is... Now I just realized one other mistake we made. But instead of, you know, going back, I'm going to show you how to fix it, so in case you make mistakes like this in the future, you know how to fix things. So this shouldn't be a horizontal box. This should be a uniform grid panel, because we have to know how many things are in there, and we could just do it manually. We could just say, you know, there are 5 things in there every time we need to say it. But in a lot of cases, the amount of things in a uniform grid panel will change. So it's much safer to have that, because a horizontal box can't really count how many items are inside it. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click on rune selection box, replace with uniform grid panel. Now it's going to mess it up a tiny bit, but we have a uniform grid panel. Our checkboxes are all still here, and then we just have to set the rows and columns. So we want this one to stay at row 0, column 0. In fact, they're all going to stay at row 0 because we don't want it to multiply, so just column 1. Okay. Next one will be column 2. Next one, column 3. And Cryonis is column 4. There we go. We have our everything in our 5 columns, and this is usually how a lot of inventory systems work as well. So it's a really easy fix. Now I can go back into graph. Oh, wait, let's make sure the uniform grid panel, we'll call it rune selection grid panel, and it has to be a variable. All right, back into the graph, let's compile. Let's take our rune selection grid panel. We have to get children count. So it counts how many children it has. And we'll put that in the last index for the for loop. So in the index, we got to get child at, oh wait, from here actually. First, get child at, and then the index will be from here. And then we have to cast to checkbox, which is, you know, just checkbox in general, and then, you know, we attach it to that, so now it knows which checkbox it is. And by which checkbox it is, it means all the checkboxes, because it loops through and it gets every checkbox in that in the uniform grid panel, and they're all checkboxes, so that works out. So if the checkbox that we are casting to equals the selected rune, if you remember, you know, in this, we set the selected rune to the same one the third person character selects to. Then, if we want to leave that one selected and unselect all the others, we can just take the checkbox and press is checked. Yeah, is checked? No. Is it set checked? Set is checked. For true, we want it to be true. Copy, paste. For false, we want it to be false, and hook up that target. There we go. Now, once you select one of these, say if I have magnesis selected, Then I want to switch over to Cryonis. I check Cryonis, it does the for loop, and it sets the checked Cryonis and unchecks Magnesis because it is no longer the selected rune. Alright, now last thing we have to do here is we want to bind this name to be on the one we've selected instead of just saying Magnesis the whole time. So just click on it. In text, click bind, create binding. And it's pretty simple. We cast to third person character. Always get player character. As third person character, we want to get the rune struct ref. This one right here. We can break or split the struct spin because we only need the name, and then just take the name, put it in there. And that's why we always have everything, every time we select one, set all the parameters to right here, because then the name will be correct, and we get the name from these variables where we've actually set all their properties. Okay, alright, so now we want to actually have this HUD be able to show up. So let's go to the third person character and go into, or let's click here, settings, project settings. We're going to add a new input command. Press input right here on the side. Action mappings, we're going to add one, and this is going to be called rune selection. And I'm just going to make it the tab button. So I believe on the Switch you hold the up button on the D-pad, but I'm not going to try to mess with the arrow keys because those are also set for walking, and I just don't want to go into it and have to disable all of that. So we're just going to make the tab key. We can close that. Third person character, let's go to the event graph. I'm going to close all this sprint stuff. It's the add heart. What is this? Begin play. I'm going to go ahead and comment out this begin play. There we go. Now we're going to just on press rune selection, which is the tab button, and we need to I'm actually going to make it just a toggle. I don't just, it's not that hard. If you want to change it to where you have to hold it down, it's not that hard, but it got kind of annoying trying to hold tab and select one at the same time on a keyboard, so I'm just going to make it a toggle. So we need a new variable. We're just going to call it, is rune selection menu active. Well, it's a long name. Make it a boolean. Put it in runes. So on released, just first we have to call it, ask if this is true. And to make it simpler, I usually put a not boolean. So is it not active? Because then it gets rid of any double negatives, which makes it confusing. So if it's not active, true, then we want to obviously activate it. So set is rune selection menu active to true, and copy paste. If not, set it to false. There we go, easy peasy. And we also want it to make it pause the game when we're in that menu. So set is game, or wait, what's it called? Set game paused. There we go. Check that and uncheck it there. Now one thing you got to remember is we want to click on this and we want to check this button here, execute when paused, because for some reason Unreal Engine has a built-in function of having, when the game's paused, our input doesn't work. So we still want tab to be able to work when we're paused. Alright, and the rest is pretty simple. After that we want to create a widget, and the widget we're creating is rune selection, this one right here. And let's make a reference, just promote that to a variable, we'll make it a reference called rune selection ref. I'm gonna add we have a couple things called rune selection, I'm gonna add HUD in there. And then we just have to take it and add to viewport. Last but not least, we get player controller, and then we want to show mouse, oops, we want to set that, I get it, show mouse cursor to true, because we want to be able to select it. Okay, and for the false side, we just have to take this reference we made, remove from parent, and that'll remove the HUD. And then we want to get rid of the mouse cursor, so show mouse cursor to false. And there we go. So we can jump into our game now. Everything looks fine. We jump, we press tab, and there we go. Now the name isn't showing up, but as you can see, you can hover over each one, select it. Oh, the name wasn't showing up because we didn't have any selected. Let's make it so we have a default one selected, so we can't have one that isn't selected. So you select it, we have our name, and then we get set on Magnesis. We don't have any kind of thing to show, but our character is currently set to Magnesis as well, which is really nice. So last thing we're going to do is we're going to add that little thing beneath the hearts that shows you what you have selected for both your sword, shield, and rune. We're going to go ahead and add that now. So we're going to make a new widget blueprint, and we're just going to call this I'm going to call it weapon select, even though, oh wow, I hate it when that happens. Oh my goodness. Even though it's also the rune, just makes it a little easier because we're going to be using this in the future as well. So we can get rid of the canvas panel. We're going to need a uniform grid panel. And before anything, we can go back to mechanics, runes, icons, or actually, I'm just going to put this in mechanics for now because it's going to be pretty universal. This will also be in the download link on my website. Whereas I don't think I put this one in a folder. You can see my disorganized folder for the, yeah, just arrows. And open that up, and same thing last time, we're going to set this to user interface 2D and set texture group to UI and save. So okay, so first thing is we need an image, and we made the uniform grid panel to be 3 by 3, so we're going to have an empty space here, empty space here, empty space here, empty space here, and then in the middle will be these arrows, and then on top will be an image of what rune we have. This right will be the sword, and the left will be the shield. Or is that backwards? No, I think that's right. So first thing, we're just going to call this arrows. The image is also called arrows right there. Perfect. And we're going to put it in row 1, column 1. It's going to put it like over there, but it's fine. We're going to need a few spacers. Oh, we're going to have to make sure all these are set to fill on both. Spacer, yes, goes 0, 0. After that, we're going to do it in order. So after that, we have an image right there, and this one is set to row 0, column 1, and this is going to be our rune. So this is called rune image. Then we need another spacer. Copy and paste that. That didn't work. Duplicate. Put it right there. We're going to row 0, column 2. Perfect. And we're going to need another spacer. These I don't know if they're actually necessary to put here and here, but it's always good to be safe. So row 1, column 0. And then duplicate. And then after that, yeah, row 1, column 2. Perfect. And then duplicate, and they need to be a row 2, column 0. And once again, like I say, in quite a lot of these, this looks all stretched out, but it'll be fixed in our main HUD. Now, hold up. These are not supposed to be spacers. These are supposed to be images. So we can right-click, replace with image. There we go. And this will be shield image. Is that how you spell shield? It's IE. I should have known that. And we don't have any images for this yet because we haven't done sword and shield yet. So, but instead of leaving it blank, I like to just find a random image. Let's go ahead and do. No, I don't like that either. Yeah, this one right here, this little devil-looking guy. All right, in this space right here, this is also supposed to be an image. So replace with image, and this is the sword image. And we can do icon green, this little weird looking guy. And then the rune image, it can have a default just to be the remote bomb. There we go. Perfect. And if you want to be super safe, you could just make a spacer for each one of these. Right, save. Okay, now setting this to what a rune is pretty simple. We want to go to the brush and hit bind, create binding. Right here, return value, we want to promote that to a variable, and we're going to call this rune brush. Delete it because we want to have it set rune brush right there, and then we can right click here, split struct pin. Sorry. Getting a little mushy mouthed. And brush image is what we're going to be concentrating on. The rest don't really matter. So cast to third person character, just like we've been doing. Get player, nope, not controller, character. And then we want to get the struct reference that we've been using. Split it once more, and this time we're going to get the icon and put it into the brush image right there. Save. Let's go into our main HUD. Let's add it. So we want to go down to user created, and we want to add our weapon select. Yeah, that seems about right. I think that looks pretty good. Just kidding. So we're gonna anchor it right there. The size is going to be, let's say, 200 by 200. Yeah, it looks about right. Just put it right there. 50 by 170. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it looks good. All right, now let's test that out. So we'll always be able to see what we have selected. So, oh yeah, let's set one of these default selected. So we can just go into rune selection. Let's have this one. You just go to appearance, check state, checked. Save, compile. There we go. Nope. Alright, so after a while of searching, I found out my problem. If you go to weapon select and into the bind for the brush, I never connected these two, which is super important. And if we go into the third person example map now, and we select one, now, as you can see in the upper left, I pointed to my screen, as you can see that, it's changing with ours, while the sword and shield stays those little faces because we had no other icons to replace them with for now. So I think that works great, and you know, now we're all set up to for runes, and we can actually, next tutorial we'll start with magnesis, where you can actually activate it and move things around that are metal, which is great. I'm very excited for that one. It's much more exciting than this tutorial is, but I'm going to try to get it out within the next 3 days, because I know it's been a while since I have uploaded. But thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.